you know, I'm in Houston and you were here in Houston back then, was Hurricane Harvey. And Hurricane Harvey, when it came, it was without a vengeance, right? With a vengeance, right? It was crazy.
Yeah.
But that was 2017, and it was probably like a year and a half after I had left corporate. And so now this is when it counts, because this is where, you know, sink or swim.
Yeah.
Well, we had so many clients. So that was when we were doing, you know, good on our sales and bookings, and all of this energy was great, you know, the great stuff. But Hurricane Harvey came, and I want to say we had, let's just estimate, about 10 weddings. My house, Harvey came on my daughter's birthday, this week, mind you. On my daughter's birthday, you were supposed to be at my house partying with us.
Yeah.
And hardly anybody could come because there was a looming whatever we didn't know. Well, people got home safely. Whoever did come were the people who lived in our neighborhood, our immediate family, like that. But the next day, our house had partial flooding. And so many of my family members, friends, clients, and I still had 8 to 10 weddings to plan. We had roof damage, we had flood, a few inches, and homeowners insurance was not worth the money. Flood insurance was not worth the money. Homeowners insurance came through in the end. But the biggest challenge was balancing life and business. When life was turned upside down and venues flooded, venues closed, I was the wedding planner and the designer for majority of these events.
Yeah.
So even though it's not my fault that the hurricanes happened and that all of this bad stuff happened, I had to carry my clients forward and push them, because if your wedding is next month or in 2 months and you've paid majority of this money, you really don't have the option to cancel. If you do, you lose everything. And that's what a lot of people are learning in COVID is if you cancel, you really lose. So it's better to postpone, replan, fix. But how do you do that when you're living room to room in your own home? And I have 2 young girls and a husband and a business. And we had business stuff just stacked up in the house, ready for what wedding we thought we were going to have the next weekend, you know, that couldn't happen. And it was just crazy. But I had to just pick myself up and pray and ask God for strength and for direction, because my clients were crying and were worried. And some of them were out of town. They didn't even live in Houston. And you know this because you planned your wedding from a distance.
Yeah.
So it was heartbreaking, but sometimes you have to put your big girl panties on. And I put my big girl panties on, and I did the best that I could for all of those clients. And some of the events we changed venues, we rescheduled to months later, but we still forged a way. And I think after Harvey, I had a wedding 2 weeks later. And I don't know how, but we did it. And I remember one of our weddings, we had that next storm. It was like 2 more storms that were right back to back. And the bride was from a city where her guests were being hit the night before her wedding. I had to drive in 30 minutes before a ceremony. He said, "Rich, I promise you I'm going to be there. You've worked so hard. We're going to make it there." He drove through storms to get to Houston. We had all of our weddings as promised. Of course, changes.
Yeah.
And that is where we began to win all of those awards. Because even though I didn't care about reviews, I didn't know any better back then, I wasn't showy, my brides and grooms said, and moms and dads and friends said, I have friends who were in similar situations and their planners said, "Oh, well, my house is flooded too. I mean, nothing I can do, and no, I'm not giving you any money back." And they said that Fervent Designs and my team did the best we could and made their days phenomenal. And in my mind, some of the days weren't as phenomenal as they say. Some of the flowers weren't as pretty as I wanted them to be, because in the middle of 3 hurricanes, mind you, when a hurricane hits, it's not just Houston. It hit Miami, it hit Mexico, it hit the places where we get the flowers.
Yeah.
So it was like, how do you get flowers?
Yeah.
Like when there's nowhere to get flowers. But we did. It wasn't the way I wanted it, but we did. And that taught me that if I could excel through a hurricane, which lasts for us, people think it's over, my house is still being fixed up to this day. Because now I'm an entrepreneur and I don't have that 6-figure job that pays to do all of that extra stuff that I could have done in a heartbeat with my oil and gas salary.
Yeah.
But we're still here. And our clients saw that the passion and the love and the professionalism, and they wrote reviews and they told their friends, and they, went to bat for me when I didn't go to bat for myself.
That's right.
And then on top of it, they paid more than my insurances combined in tips to help us fix our home.